Hey guys, welcome back to Tony the Technician's channel. So, I basically have everything done with the engine. I'm still waiting on my carb spacer to come in, which I can't install the carb anyways because I gotta drop it into the car, so I won't be going over that until the engine's in the car. The only thing I have left is to install the distributor, which I also won't be doing until I get my oil, what do you call it? It's an oil priming tool, and it goes down in the distributor hole onto the oil pump shaft, and you hook your drill up to it and you just rotate it until you get oil circulating throughout your entire engine block. So I'm waiting for that to come in, then we'll install the distributor, but I am going to go ahead and start prepping to pull this 2.8 liter out of the Camaro. I did put together a list for you guys. It's not a complete list or like in super great detail of how to pull a 2.8 liter. It's also going to be different because a lot of people don't have the T5 transmission. Most of them are automatic, so I didn't really cover that too much. It's either you can do it with the engine and transmission all at once pulling it out, or you can do them separately. I haven't really decided. I've never pulled a 2.8 liter out with a T5. I've done it with a 700R4, so I don't really know the difference. I've never pulled a manual transmission. So it's going to be a first for me as well. Shouldn't be too bad though, but here's the list I've put together. If you guys can see it. You guys can pause it here if you want to stop and read, or if you want to use it. I'm just going to be following it. I made it myself. Followed some out of the book, but the book I have doesn't go into great detail of pulling an engine out, especially specific to the one that I have. So first we're just going to start with disconnecting the battery, the intake, draining the coolant, removing the radiator hoses, heater core hoses, all of that. And then of course the fan shroud and everything will come out. That's where I'll probably start at, and then once I get past that, we'll start actually going through. I'm going to take masking tape, and anything I disconnect, like such as hoses or wires, I'm going to put masking tape around it and label what it is, you know, for the things that I'm going to be using, or that I know I'm going to be using when I install this engine, like the alternator, the starter, things like that. So I'll be marking all of that, and then we'll go through and we'll disconnect all the wires, the hoses, what else? The linkage for the throttle. We won't be removing the hood until I basically get this engine disassembled and ready to pull out. I won't be jacking it up permanently, you know, because a lot of people jack the car up and then do the work, but I'm hoping with keeping the car as low as possible, I might be able to get the engine and transmission out. Not too sure. If not, I'll jack the vehicle up. But other than that, let's just get into it. I'm not going to go step by step, you know, right now talking about it. I'll actually show you guys what I'm going to be doing. So the first step I'm going to be doing is disconnecting the battery. Pretty self-explanatory. Just disconnect the positive and negative, and then we'll move on to removing the actual air system off of the engine. We got the battery removed. Looks like it could use some cleaning, but besides that, we're going to move on to removing the air cleaner and everything. I would have showed you this, but it's pretty simple, just positive and negative. You guys get it. So next we're going to have to disconnect the sensor, mass airflow sensor, and then the temperature sensor, which is on the other side. And then it's basically just removing this hose right here, along with loosening this and just pulling it out. But another thing I want to mention, whether you're putting the same engine back in or the same type of engine back in, it's still a great help if you just go ahead and take a lot of photos of the engine bay so you see where wires are running, hoses are running, everything like that. You want to know where things go when you put something back in. Even though I'm putting a completely different setup in, it's still nice to know where things went. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some photos and then remove this. So removing the air cleaner is pretty simple. It's just one of the first steps. You'll loosen this ring up here. Then you'll have this, which goes into your PCV valve on your valve cover, which will just slide out of there. And then here you're gonna have a tube from your EGR, which you'll just disconnect. That just plugs in right there. And then just remove the sensors from your intake. And then there you go. Obviously, whoever owned this before put some other kind of intake on here, but that's it as far as the intake goes. All you'll need is a screwdriver and a pair of pliers in order to get that off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply go through some of the common wiring, and I'm going to take my masking tape and marker and label what things are. Like here, I had this labeled as math. So I'm going to go through and do that to a lot of the wiring that I know I'll be using still, and then we'll move on to draining the radiator. Okay, so I haven't drained the coolant yet, but I have started working on some of the wiring and stuff. As you can see, I've removed my alternator. It's pretty simple. My clip was a pain in the ass. It wouldn't come out, so that took me like 5 minutes just to get that out. I ended up breaking the little clip. But besides that, you just gotta, there's gonna be a bolt on the front that you're gonna loosen, a bolt on the back that you're gonna loosen. That'll allow you to rotate your alternator. And then once you get your plug out, which will sit like down here, pull that plug and you can unbolt this, and then your alternator will come out this way. And then I pulled the wiring from my throttle body here, and the harness that actually runs under here. That all runs through here and over to right here. That's what this is right here. I have it taped off, throttle body wires. I also have the alternator taped off. So that's the wiring for that. And then what else? I had to remove the EGR bracket from the alternator. Other than that, it's pretty simple to get out. I'm just gonna go around. I also removed the belt while I had the alternator off. Now I am just going through and disconnecting some of the hoses and wiring before I get to the coolant. I'm probably gonna do the coolant tomorrow as soon as I wake up actually, and then focus on getting the rest of it ready to be pulled. But that's where I'm at right now. Alright guys, so what I've done so far is just disconnect the ground that goes to the engine block. I've disconnected the alternator wiring, the throttle body wiring. I've removed the entire EGR system because it's just in the way. I've disconnected the coil wiring, the distributor wiring, or the wiring that goes to the base of the distributor. I haven't removed the cap or wires yet, but that's where I'm at right now. That's basically it for the night. Tomorrow I'm gonna start off on that side of the engine, disconnecting lines, probably disconnect the AC and power steering, and then get the coolant drained, and we'll go from there.